Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail released a couple weeks ago, marking the beginning of a new era for the game. The Hydaelyn and Zodiark saga concluded with Endwalker, which spanned 10 years of development. Now, Creative Studio 3 is looking to continue that universe of 14 for another 10 years with this new expansion. As with any long-running series, the devs now have to contend with the fact that they have to create something new for the game in every sense, to bring the game to as many eyes as possible, especially because this is the start of a brand new beginning to a beloved story. With rumors that 14 will be coming to new platforms, how Yoshi P and team are striving to differentiate how level progression will work in the game now that we've reached a level cap of 100. Before we continue, I would like to thank all of you guys for your continued support as we have just reached 1,000 subs to the channel. It's definitely a big milestone and I cannot wait to grow this channel even more with each and every one of you. So, as always, do not forget to like the video and subscribe for anything JRPG. This information comes from longtime industry leaker Kuracasis going over the development of Final Fantasy XIV Mobile, as well as the potential publisher working with Square Enix on this project. As it reads, Xputer has learned that Final Fantasy XIV Mobile is currently in development. As per the site sources, bringing the popular MMORPG to mobile devices is a joint project of Square Enix and Tencent. In 2018, both companies signed a letter of intent to form a strategic alliance. And in 2021, Yosuke Matsuda, then president of Square Enix, confirmed that some projects were underway. To date, none of these projects have been officially announced. Earlier this year, Reuters reported that in December of 2023, Tencent canceled an unannounced mobile game based on Square Enix's popular franchise Nier due to challenges in finding a compelling monetization model. What's interesting about this Nier mobile game is the fact that it was actually making steady progress. According to sources, the game had been in development for almost 2 years. Reportedly, there was also a playable internal demo which showed some of the game's combat and story. Because the game was so expensive and they couldn't find the monetization model to offset the cost, they ended up canceling the project altogether in December. With how far along that project was, it is unfortunate for Nier fans that they've lost yet another mobile game. And with the cancellation of one comes their brand new project. If you're not familiar with Tencent Games, they are one of the largest publishers in the world by revenue, housing some very notable games on the market like PUBG Mobile, Pokemon Unite, and Call of Duty Mobile, among many others. If anything, it makes a lot of sense that Square Enix would want to partner with Tencent Games to develop a massive game like Final Fantasy XIV Online. This MMORPG is currently Square Enix's most profitable Final Fantasy yet, and with mobile gaming getting even more advanced as the years go by, technology advances, and the fact that mobile gaming is just very popular, especially in Japan. This mobile version will not only help to push the game out to more people, but also be a very convenient way to play online MMOs such as 14, assuming that this version is actually good. Which begs the question as to how they're going to translate all of the various job actions on a touchscreen device. As the game goes on, Final Fantasy XIV can get pretty complex with its controls and how many actions you'll need to remember as you progress through the game, and to have to translate all of those different job actions on a touchscreen would be very challenging. Would we need to link our controller to our mobile devices in order to play? It could be added as an alternative method, but touchscreen gameplay should ideally be the main method of gameplay here, as expecting anything more from mobile gamers would surely affect sales. Now, this next bit of news comes from a recent French interview with Yoshi P that goes over their plans for the level cap and how that translates to 14 growing as a game. As it reads here, what will happen after level 100? This is a point we are currently discussing with the teams. It is a discussion that we are really having at the moment with other members of the team, namely, literally, what are we doing to make people understand that there is an evolution in the jobs? That is to say that increasing a figure of a level cap is one thing, but what interests people and what somehow brings people closer to their characters is the feeling that we have an evolution. A character who grows, who becomes more and more powerful. powerful. And so how do we make people feel that their character is becoming stronger? With figures, it is a little difficult. Do we keep this idea of level cap? Would there also be the use of materials that allow their character to be strengthened? So there, we're really thinking about what we could do. Do we keep the level cap, or do we find another way to progress? On the contrary, do we continue to increase levels but with other things on the side? We're exploring all the different avenues a little at the moment. Now, this is something that I have been waiting to hear the dev team address for a long while, since recently with the release of Dawntrail, the level cap has been raised to 100. And while the rinse and repeat raising of the level cap with every expansion isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does start to feel a bit formulaic. You have to wonder, when will progression change into something more interesting, more engaging in the expansions to come? And I think the fact that the dev team is also realizing this is a good sign. Instead of raising the level cap with every expansion, maybe they can shift the focus on item level entirely and build on that system. Maybe for the next expansion they don't raise the level cap, and instead the leveling is focused more on item level and raising key stats. For example, I used to play a lot of Destiny for a time, and once you reached max level of that game, that was it. After that, it was all about raising your item level, or in Destiny terms, your power level, and your 3 main stats for that character. It also doesn't help that Final Fantasy XIV introduces new skills and actions every time the level cap is increased. It poses a problem because there's already so many skills you have to remember at this point in the game. It's getting to the point where players are running out of keys to place their skills on. So again, you kind of have to wonder as to what they can do to change up progression moving forward. Are they going to keep raising the level cap, or are they going to come up with a new level of complexity to play these jobs instead of just unlocking new skills every time? But maybe even approaching a whole new progression system entirely. And that to me is extremely interesting to think about, because for so long 14 has followed a system that, while not bad, is getting formulaic. And it's definitely showing at this point. Yoshi P then adds on to that by saying, quote, "We also have to keep in mind that Final Fantasy XIV is a game that wants to be quite universal. A game that wants to appeal to both people who play occasionally, as well as people who are going to play every day and be very passionate about the game at a high level. So there may also be people who are so involved that they will be very reluctant to change. Because obviously when you've spent so much time remembering your rotation, when you've been so involved in a job and mastering all of its subtleties to precisely pass the most difficult content, I can understand there is a certain reluctance to have in-depth changes. But at the same time, our goal is to create excitement, to create motivation to discover something new, to always refresh the formula. Because staying on the same basis forever is not very healthy for the game and for the future of the game. You always have to change things a little, bring something new, otherwise you risk stagnating. So our goals as creators is to always challenge ourselves, always question ourselves, and we hope that the different decisions we make and the changes we make will be to your taste, and that you will be able, just like us, I think, to take advantage of these new features to discover the game in a new light. Again, it's very good to see that the dev team is very aware that Final Fantasy XIV is a game that is constantly changing, a game that needs to change. Whether it be story, gameplay, the systems that revolve around it, they constantly need to come up with new ways to play and engage with the game every single expansion. And this applies infinitely more to an online MMORPG like Final Fantasy XIV because it's an ongoing thing. The contents and the systems that were praised 2 or 3 expansions ago may be wearing thin on the fanbase or even hated on currently. And so with 14, as Yoshi P has stressed numerous times, change is extremely necessary. Not only for 14, but many games in general. To do otherwise, you risk stagnating. And I think that for a game developer, this is an extremely healthy mindset. With recent rumors that 14 is being developed for mobile platforms, it'll be interesting to see how a game as large as it is perform there, both on a popularity and technical standpoint. Especially because of how popular mobile gaming is, I can't really fathom any other possible way that they can bring more attention to Final Fantasy XIV. Something that I have always loved about this game and the devs behind it is how willing they are to embrace change. It certainly is not easy to maintain a game of this scope, especially even after after 10 years. But to have the player's best interest at heart almost every step of the way is very rare to see in the gaming industry today. I think more than anything that speaks to Creative Studio 3 and how lenient they are towards criticisms from the fanbase. But anyways, tell me how you feel about Final Fantasy XIV potentially coming to mobile platforms. And what are your opinions on the current state of the game? Are you happy where Final Fantasy XIV is now, and what would you like to see improved upon in the future?